Board. Okay, Mayor Alma Hernandez from
Mhm.
Suisun City, can you please give us your opening statement?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here this evening. I do want to recognize Vice Mayor Dawson has just joined us, and so she'll be also providing some speaking remarks later this evening as well for everyone. And I wanted to start off by just framing a bit of this conversation as we engage. One of the things that people have engaged with me in the past is just to keep an open conversation going and being able to provide as much information as I can, recognizing that there's multiple perspectives and some very strong opinions regarding the topic that we'll be discussing this evening, which is the potential annexation of acres owned by California Forever. California Forever is an entity that has caused much of strong emotions by members of our community. And I believe that it's important to name that. It's important to recognize some members feel a lot of distress with California Forever, and I just want to also be able to frame this conversation with that knowledge as I enter this space. But tonight, I also want to be able to hopefully enlighten members of where Suisun City is on this journey, what has led us to the decisions that we're taking place right now, and also to inform members of the community about where we're going and what this could mean, as well as some of the insight that we're gathering as we go along this journey. And this is extremely important for myself, and I know other members of our council, which is to continue to keep our community engaged on this topic. We will be setting out different community meetings and town halls later this fall to engage the community at large. We really want people to be involved. There's a lot of questions out there, so we want to make sure people stay informed and being able to take that information back to our staff of any areas that we need to continue to enhance or improve on as we embark on this journey for the next 2 to 3 years of study. So that's where I want to kind of start off, and I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for starting us off on a good foot. So we can start with our first question. What are the intentions of Suisun City regarding this annexation? Would you like to see another city there?
So the intention of Suisun City is very specific to be able to generate revenues for the city. So I received actually a question earlier today about our taxes. Someone was upset about our streets and our roads, and they said, what about my property taxes? So there's a misconception of how much revenue we receive. So Suisun City receives 11.3 cents to the dollar for property taxes. 40 point, I think, 1 goes to the county, and 48.3 or so goes to the school district and other entities and agencies. So that is one of the driving factors, is we don't have enough property taxes. And the second piece is that we have sales taxes that we are able to generate and not have enough sales taxes or property taxes to continue to sustain the level of service for our community. That's what drove our question about how do we generate more revenue without continuing to tax our community members. For those who are not aware, Suisun City, if it had not passed our most recent tax measure, Measure S, by next year, by 2026, we would have to have dissolved as a city. Currently, in the 24-25 fiscal year, we dipped into 40% of our reserves just to operate the fiscal year, and that was a big gamble to dip deep that much as we pursue this tax measure. So the driving force of what our why has been is we need to be able to generate more tax revenue. Our most recent studies, I'm holding it in front of me too, is our economic development strategic plan that came out earlier this in around February or so, showed that even if we did all our infill development of land we owned and have greatest control, we still wouldn't generate all the revenues that we need. We need industry. So those are the driving factors of why we're looking to see, is there an opportunity to annex land, to bring into Suisun City, to build industry? That's really the starting point for us.
Okay, and then is Rio Vista still negotiating with California Forever?
Yes, they are. They are still, and I believe they're getting closer and closer to their own reimbursement agreement with California Forever. It was really important for us on the Suisun City Council and Suisun City staff that when we began to engage California Forever in our own negotiations, that we included Rio Vista in those conversations because they had also gone to their city council and had actually from the beginning of talking about future potential expansion and annexation for themselves, named California Forever directly at that point themselves in who they would be negotiating with. We wanted to ensure that we weren't pitted against each other. We knew that we would be engaging in conversations that would be very sensitive as we negotiated where our boundaries would become in the future, what would be studying for potential annexation for our respective communities. And one of the things that we wanted to be mindful is that we wouldn't be pitted against each other in the negotiation process. We meet as both city mayors and city managers every 2 weeks to check in on each other, just to make sure that we're aligned and where we want to take our respective communities.
Awesome. Okay. Have there been any fires or flooding recently in that area?
Fires or flooding in that specific area. I would see there was the Denverton fire sometime last season, I believe, and it was in Montezuma district. I want to say it was I believe that they were the ones responding. It was contained, but it is part of the new fire hazard zones. Some of that area, because it's completely undeveloped, is subject to wildland fire. Mhm.
Yeah. Um, has the council looked at the county fiscal analysis of what was proposed via initiative last year?
The city council itself has not discussed that
Okay.
together in the public, so we wouldn't be discussing it collectively. It wasn't an item coming to the agenda for the public.
Okay. And then what evidence do you have other than the upfront payments for approving the EIR and the annexation that there will be more revenues than expenses?
I think that's what we're studying. So I would say with the what we're looking for is the actual studies and the additional consultants that we're engaging with to help us inform where Suisun City would be and what would be the cost benefit and if it actually makes sense. One of the things we're very cognizant of is that the end of the road may determine that it doesn't make sense. If the financial costs for all of the infrastructure and the maintenance on all of those things as you grow a community, and especially if you don't have the appropriate revenue infrastructure to offset, it's not making financial sense for your community. One of the things that we don't want to do for Suisun City is set it up in a way of where we currently are, which is hurting financially, right? This is an opportunity for us to identify, does it make sense for us to incorporate land? How much land is also the other part of the question. So we're currently studying 22,000 acres of land. From those 22,000 acres, 25% off the bat goes straight into protecting Travis Air Force Base to create the appropriate safety buffers for Travis. And that's at the minimum. So studies will indicate for us if we need to increase that buffer as well. A little over 1,000 is going to look at studying for industry, and then 15,000 acres or so is looking to develop additional housing. This is we are tasked with housing mandates, and one of the things that we want to respond to is being able to bring housing not only for us locally, but also for our members at Travis Air Force Base. It's been a big ask from them. There's a variety of initiatives that they've requested from their local cities surrounding Travis. Housing has been at the top, followed by childcare.
I agree with
Okay,
that.
yeah.
Um, public transportation is pretty minimal in Solano County in general, but specifically in Suisun, you do have the train stop, but buses and everything else is minimal. The roads are overcrowded, every single aspect of it. California Forever has maintained that they would pay quote unquote their fair share, but that doesn't actually help the transportation situation. Uh, what remedy do you see, and how do we pay for that?
Well, it is a multifaceted approach into addressing Highway 12. Highway 12's concerns exist whether California Forever anything happens on the portion of land that they own or not. That is our current problem. Both Mayor Okamura and I have been very clear about that, both to California Forever since before we engaged with them. This was about a year and a half ago. We were very adamant that we were concerned about Highway 12 and the impacts, and that was one of the priorities that our residents that we serve had indicated as a number one concern is Highway 12. Since then, and most recently led by the Solano Transportation Authority, we have a committee of that is dedicated right now on addressing Highway 12. It includes the mayors of Suisun, Fairfield, Rio Vista. It includes Travis Air Force Base, Caltrans. It includes a variety of different transportation agencies that we are all looking at Highway 12 because for those who are not aware, Highway 12 has the highest fatality rates of any highway in the state of California. So this has been a big concern historically. It doesn't have the demand for the type of funding and infrastructure. Caltrans has been very clear. Even though there's movement on that highway, there hasn't been a driving factor for the investments necessary. So this is our call to action of we absolutely need to do that because regardless of where we go with the annexation, which is about 5, 10 years out of where we might land, um, we are currently looking to develop the 34 acres right off of Highway 12, which is going to strain that part of 12. And Rio Vista has development also that's coming that's around Highway 12 on top of the issues with the bridge, right? That bottlenecks Highway 12. So we actually have a big issue. So that's something that we're grappling with multiple agencies, both at local, county, state, and military. So it is multifaceted. I wouldn't say I have the answer today. What I do know and the insight that I can bring is what Highway 12 looks like today is not what Highway 12 will look like in the future. And I think some of the examples that working with Caltrans have indicated is for those familiar with Napa and where Soscol is, there used to be a really tough intersection of getting off from Soscol onto Highway 29. Um, that no longer looks anything like it did over a year ago. It's completely transformed due to engineering design, various traffic studies, and additional investments in how they're reformatting highway systems. And so it's both a local and a state issue that we're looking at. What we are identifying is funding sources. That was another part of the question. We're identifying different funding sources to be able to offset those costs. There is the local jurisdictions that have to provide, but there is a big state one, and that's something that we're working with our state legislators as well. So that's more to come.
Yeah. Oh, where I see the big deficit is getting from Fairfield to soon Rio Vista without using Highway 12. So using public transportation, using more efficient means of moving people. We don't have BART. We have Amtrak, but Amtrak, quite frankly, is has very limited service. And so I would see that as one of the biggest eh,
And
starting points for me.
yeah, and actually, it may become the catalyst for the change we need in public transportation. I'm currently studying, I can't say I'm fully read on it, but the Plan Bay Area 50 from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission and some of their final drafting that just came out was released last week. And you can see the mapping of the investment dollars coming for public transportation. And so Solano County is getting the minimal amount available of dollars, right? For one, we are not a self-help county. We're the only county in the Bay Area that doesn't tax ourselves as a county for transportation dollars. It's a big driving factor of why we have a lot of issues with public transportation. I know that in the past, the Board of Supervisors have approved coming to the ballot twice. It has failed twice. And so it's definitely still an area of work that needs to be addressed. But seeing, like I said, I'm not fully read on that on the most recent draft that came out for the funding that's coming out for public transportation. But you can see the investments to Alameda, to San Francisco, to Marin. You don't see those investments for Solano.
Okay. What percentage of California Forever's lands is Sassoon looking at annexing?
22,000 acres. And forgive me, I don't have the percentage of how much that is to all the land that they own. I do know that they own all of that area towards Collinsville and up and further. So I don't know what percentage of the full scope of the land that they own that would be. But it's
Okay.
22,000 acres we're studying.
Okay. And then do you pledge to take no campaign contributions from California Forever, its staff, its investors, members of its advisory board, or any other person or organization with financial interest in that development?
Yes, that's not a problem for me in any way. I'm fully committed to not taking any development money from California Forever specifically because I think it convolutes where we are in our position, being able to provide clarity that the driving factor for me is specifically Suisun City, not California Forever's interest. And that's been my stance has been pretty clear from the start with this particular part of the conversation.
As
However,
it is a big list of people.
yeah, yeah. However, I do want to note that when we campaigned for Measure S, we did have a member in the campaign committee who requested funding from specifically Jan Schramek, who is the CEO. They have a relation, like a friendly relationship. So we were looking for funding. She requested, and he was amenable and provided his personal funds for us to raise funding to be able to promote and not advertise, but inform our community about what Measure S was about and how we were going to support Suisun City in that way. So I do want to disclose that just because there's been some convolution of some of the Measure S funding and who requested and how that happened versus my own personal one.
Has Sassoon discussed a property tax sharing agreement with the county?
We are currently, I'll speak for myself and a few other mayors, have been struggling in getting a tax sharing agreement with the county. It doesn't affect just California Forever or the acres of land that we're looking at. It actually affects the city of Dixon, the city of Vacaville, as well as we're looking at our development plans. The county removed the previous tax sharing agreement templates available for us to engage with about a year ago. And we've been waiting for 7 months for a tax revenue sharing agreement that has not really led to the conversations that we needed. We most recently engaged one of our supervisors and were able to meet staff and the county administrator's office to be able to set a date. We're looking for one of our projects on the west side, approximately a timeline of September, we would start looking at the next portion of tax sharing agreements between Suisun City and other areas of land that we're exploring to annex as well.
Okay.
So we'll know more.
And other options, other cities have gone through bankruptcies and come out the other side. Has Sassoon considered this? What do you see as the upsides and downsides?
Yeah, Suisun City doesn't have the level of debt that qualifies us for bankruptcy. We have a structural deficit, not that we're in debt with other entities, which I've learned has been one of the differentiators between, for example, ourselves in Vallejo or ourselves in Stockton. So what Suisun City would have to do would be actually to dissolve as a city. Not the financial pieces don't allow us to just call for bankruptcy and sustain. We would have to dissolve and be either incorporated by another city or by the county.
Okay. And then, will Sassoon be participating in the August 20th county general plan discussion?
Suisun City has been amenable as all of the cities. However, my understanding is that the city managers have requested additional time to better prepare for what the structure of that summit may be that would be more supportive for the goals of the county as they work to their general plan. Things like that tax revenue sharing agreement has put all of our cities on hold on other development projects that do matter in regards to how we're working on our plans. So we don't have full answers or the full picture yet with some of the other pieces that are not in place. So I believe that's being considered at this time in regards to how will that will work out. I know that the city managers and the county office administrator's office met about a week ago to dive into this topic. So we know it's coming. But we're being informed as mayors that there might be some additional work at staff level before they flush that out and we can actually all engage on the topics.
Okay. Has Sassoon talked to Dixon about the Highway 113? Dixon is also planning and quite frankly starting significant growth in their southern section.
Now, what I can say is that we sit on the Solid Transportation Authority together. So Highway 13, Highway 12 are topics that all the mayors discuss because it affects the circulation of our communities countywide. So we have talked about the issues with Highway 13. So just the same level of committees that we have now that are special just for Highway 12. There's a separate one dedicated only to Highway 13. So I know that I'm not a part of those conversations, so I don't have additional insight except to know that the mayor of Dixon's on it, as well as the agencies that I already mentioned.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. And then, so how is your agreement with California Forever consistent with your general plan?
So our general plan is goes up to 2035, and it just identifies where we were going to grow up to that point. Some of it, has had some issues because it's around in front of the south gate for Travis Air Force Base. So even though it's kind of alluded to in the general plan, we face some challenges about what we can kind of explore in those areas. At this time, we would look to amend our general plan. We would look to a municipal service review. It depends on if we actually are able to move forward. So the question first that needs to be answered is, can we move forward? If the answer to is that is yes, then we would have to also work on the general plan amendments that would happen. But our general plan expires in 2035, so we would be working on a new general plan regardless if we move forward with California Forever or not. That's coming up in the next few years.
Okay. Um, Suisun actually has quite a few opportunities for infill and redevelopment in downtown. Um, is there anything going on there trying to lure in developers or anybody else trying to actually create that infill?
Yes, and actually, I'll send a link over to this particular document. It has all of the infill properties that we're looking at in the economic opportunities that we're doing right now. So what you'll find is that we have a pipeline, and we have a page dedicated to the infill development that's in queue for Suisun City on our website. I'll send a link to that as well. But we will have a presentation of this particular topic coming to City Council, and I think 2 or 3 council meetings from now. But it'll be focused on the 3 properties that we've already sold, the Lionx properties that are downtown, the potential California Forever properties that they've purchased from that potentially will purchase from downtown. It includes some housing, including one housing project that we heard about a week ago, the Awanta project, which is transportation-based type of housing. So it's really close to transportation. So it's designed for individuals that may not really use cars so much, but bicycle everywhere and take the train type of development. We're in conversations with Caltrans because we want to flip 2 properties in the downtown area. Here's Highway 12. There's 2 properties on each side. We want to flip those to provide high transit oriented housing right in front of that train station as well. And we're currently going through the legal process to unpack the 34 acres of land that I previously mentioned off of Highway 12 and across from Arco. That particular piece of land is actually really complex. That particular piece of land has Union Pacific Rail on one side. It has Caltrans because of highway on the other. It has a canal that runs through that is someone else's jurisdiction. It has part of marsh, so it's California Fish and Wildlife. It has a section with Solano Irrigation District. It has an old gas pipeline that goes through, and it's partially owned by the Suisun Housing Authority, so affordable housing. It has to go through the Surplus Land Act, which is going through right now. That's the legal process we're going through. I can now understand why it's been left untouched for so long. It's a very complicated piece of property to go through quite a few things. This council, I'm really grateful for the commitment we have to developing our infill and prioritizing that. That is going through the process now. So we should see development or what the development could look like in a year or two. Once we've gone through the legal process, and we should see the first designs of the type of development we are trying to seek. Now, once again, we're trying to bring in tax dollars. So what we'll most likely see are things that bring people and visitors into Suisun City. We also want to address the pieces that we're missing. I talk about this a lot. No one in my community can just walk to see a doctor, for example. So being able to bring either a clinic or an urgent care or something into Suisun City proper is really important for us. I also talk about students can't just walk to their high school. You have to get on a car or a different mode of transportation to be able to get there. So being able to make it easier for people to get access to education. So just the circulation is something that's important to us. So those are the things that are coming. We have that info. We just got a pretty popular, Dutch Brothers just gave us the okay. They're coming in. So we should see their builds pretty soon as well.
So your priority is a lot of retail and services for the community. The housing part of it is a part, but it's not kind of the main priority. Like obviously you need housing, but that's not where your tax dollars are coming.
Yeah, no, that like that we have some housing. The piece of land right next to City Hall that's empty, that's all going to be housing into the downtown because we do need uh, foot traffic to
Yeah.
support those businesses. The 34 acres, you'll see a mix. So it's currently zoned commercial mixed use and housing. So you'll see a combination of the type of design that will come there in the future. But to your point, yes, we're searching for those tax dollars. We know we need housing, and we're looking for opportunities of the type of housing that bring the property tax dollars. But we also know that the current need of our community is also it's either affordable or market rate housing as well.
Okay. Have you ever been to the Pleasant Hill BART station?
Oh, it's been a minute. I usually go to El Cerrito or Concord.
Because they actually have a transportation-oriented development there,
Ooh,
that has the first floor being retail, all the upper floors. I think they're apartments, but they could be condos. Um, and it's a really intelligent design that has high density, but also has the retail space. They also have like different amenities. And so like literally you could live there and never own a car.
yeah. No.
Um,
Mhm.
so if
Those
you're
are the,
looking for one, that
yes, yes,
I do recommend you look at it because it's a really interesting one. For specifically your downtown, right by the train station, is
yes.
where I would love to see something like that with like some little wine shops from the wineries around the area. Just saying.
No, this is taking all that in. I wrote it down so we can take a page from that. But no, to your point, yes, that's exactly the type of housing and commercial mixed use type of setup that we want. So it's alive and vibrant. Last year or a year and a half ago, we received federal designation for the Suisun train station. Super important because it opens up federal funding in the rail lines that are going to be extended. So the current plan extends now, the new line is coming that's going to extend down to Roseville. And then on going in the other direction, I can't remember what city, but it's going to expand. So every plan that's coming to about how rail might change or will it be enhanced in the future, Suisun train station has made those maps every single time. So it's we're definitely going to become a hub of people being able to come to Suisun City to explore, but also people to continue to go to other areas through public transportation.
Um, you only have 1 minute left, but I want to ask, what about jobs? Do
Yeah,
Suisun is a commute city.
yes, it is.
Um, that is not especially sustainable for
No, it's
long
not.
term.
And
So, how do you see jobs in Suisun?
yes, so and those who have heard me before have heard this already. You know, I talk a lot about in Suisun City, our most recent study shows that 655 people, or sorry, 556 people that live in Suisun commute to work in Suisun. But over 13,000 people commute out to work between 30 minutes to up to 3 hours every single day in their commute time. We're big contributors, like Solano County is as well, to all of the congestion on the highways. We just are a commuter out type of county and region and city itself. So we don't have enough industry jobs, and that could be from just being able to bring in the types of jobs that we need because we need land to do so. Most recently, the project we've approved is a logistics center on the west side of Suisun City that owned by Buzz Oates. That was approved last October. It will have been a year since that was approved, and we still are waiting for a tax revenue sharing agreement. So we can't move with development to bring jobs and tax revenue when we have missing pieces somewhere. So we're working through those pieces. I just want to name it because it takes time. People are making assumptions that we're just going to be able to move. Actually, it's a process as it should be because you have to check all of these things that are in order. So we're waiting on that. That's the reason, though, that we're looking for opportunity to develop in annexed land, which is our driving factors bringing jobs locally. I talk a little about the social negative impact we're seeing. The one middle school that we have this last year alone received the highest service calls from our PD since we've been tracking. Behavioral issues are on the rise. When we unpack the data that's coming from the school, a driving factor is noted as adult absenteeism, meaning their parents are just not around. They're working, they're commuting, they're somewhere, they're active parents and engaged with their children. They're just not necessarily home in those 3:30 to 5, 6:37 o'clock hours. And so it's contributing a lot to the issues that we're seeing. And so being able to have parents closer to home, being able to commute home in 10, 15 minutes or 20 to 30 minutes at a more reasonable time is something that's a priority for us as well. Thank you
Awesome.
so much. Thank you for
Thank
allowing me to speak.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we will go ahead and remove spotlight. And Jenalee, would you like to make an opening statement or would you just like to get right into it?
No, perfect. Um, so I will speak. I don't think I need 5 minutes though, but definitely hello all, Jenalee Dawson. I am currently serving Mayor Pro Tem for Suisun City. Currently on year 3. Um, First time into the world of definitely city leadership and the world of politics. It's definitely been an eye-opening world for me for sure. Um, so first and foremost, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to have the opportunity to share a little bit more about any of the questions that you have in regards to the hot topic of California Forever and Suisun City and the annexation, as well as any other community issues. I really believe this is so important to be able to have the opportunity to get asked the questions and be able to respond and share our insights and continue to educate the community as much as we can as we're exploring on this journey. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to double and go back on what the mayor had already said. In her introduction, we understand that this is a very hot topic that has come to the forefront of our community. I will just say that coming into running for Suisun City to be part of the leadership. I can speak for myself, but also other individuals that came in during the same time period. We were all new to this. California Forever did not exist, right? It was our biggest struggle that we had in the hard questions was the encroachment of the base of the Buzz Oats project, right? And how we were going to deal with that. So going into this, we were all caught off guard when the announcements came out with California Forever, not knowing the information, not knowing where it was going to go. So we were all right there with it, with you on the same journey. So I'll leave it at that. And I see questions coming in, but I don't know if you already have
I
pre-made questions.
I have pre-made questions for you because
All
we're gonna
right,
start with a couple questions that Mayor Hernandez answered, but these are from your perspective.
got
So
it.
do you pledge to take no campaign contributions from California Forever, its staff, its investors, members of its advisory board, or any other person or organization with a financial interest in that development?
Absolutely. For me, integrity is everything. I did not come to the forefront to lead and serve and gain anything from this or have any self-interest or anything to gain out of this. And two, going through this process, I'm here to learn. I'm here to engage. The one thing that I'm not going to create is any biases or have the opportunity to be here on this journey and be able to make decisions that are best for our community. So I don't want to create any conflict of interest and or nor do I have any special interest in receiving any of this type of funding.
Excellent. I just want to point out it's a lot of people on that list. So when you are accepting contributions, just make sure you know who they are affiliated with. Okay. Other cities have gone through bankruptcies and come out the other side. Uh, what do you personally see as the upsides or the downsides of bankruptcy for Suisun?
So for me, I don't think there's any upside to having to dissolve a city. As the mayor had previously spoke, like we as Suisun City, we don't carry large debts. We're not in debt, right? So bankruptcy, it would be Suisun City would be either become Fairfield Suisun or it would be absorbed by the county. For me, the biggest thing is this is my community. This is the community that I was raised in. This is the community that I'm raising my family in. It's what has brought me up as an individual and all of the families here raising their own children. Also, the history of Suisun City, right? We were established way before Fairfield. Losing all of the history for our city because we became insolvent because of our financial inability to keep up with the times. It's not we're overspending. It's we do not have enough revenue to keep up with the inflation of services and the need of the population as it continues to grow.
Okay. For this land specifically that we're looking at for an annexation, what do you see as the intentions for that area? Would you like to see another city there?
So for me, the industry is the most important. For Suisun City, we really, really need the industry, not only just for the additional revenue to be able to continue to operate the cities, but for the community, for our families, for the county as a whole, to be able to have local jobs. I am currently a commuter. I commute out of town a few times a week. I just got back from Sutter County, Yuba City, right? My husband commutes every single day to Sonoma County. He's on the road 4 hours a day. It truly does have a large impact on your family. And I can only imagine as just one individual who's raising our young children here in this community who are going to our schools and stuff. That work-life balance and having to commute so far out is not healthy, not what our families deserve. And locally in our county, we just don't have the industry or the jobs, and specifically here, even in Suisun City, but regionally in the county. So having this industry, these opportunities, that for me means a lot, not so much the city. I know, once you have the industry, you're going to need additional housing. But for me, the biggest thing is the industry. Suisun City does not have any industry. And that is one of our biggest pain points. You can look at all of the cities around us. You can look at Vallejo. You can look at Dixon. Dixon's continually expanding. Vacaville. We also have Fairfield. Fairfield has the industry. A long time ago, Suisun City had the opportunity to annex all the way out to the 80 interchange, where we have Jelly Belly, Budweiser, and they have the industrial park there. But that opportunity did not come available for Suisun City, and it did not go through with LAFCO, and it became part of Fairfield. And those are key pivotal tax revenue opportunities for Fairfield that Suisun does not have that opportunity. So when it comes down to it, we have no industry and that tax revenue really is hampering our ongoing budget and how we as a city can sustain or even look at the future without looking at opportunities for us to grow along the lines of keeping up with our population.
Okay. And then, so we were talking about public transportation and car transportation and Highway 12 and all of that. What would you like to see for transportation in that area? Additional lanes,
So I think
addition.
so are we talking about specifically within the potential annexation?
Um, I'm more
Or are we
thinking of
talking about,
like,
can you be a little bit more specific?
yeah, sure. I'm talking about specifically like Highway 12, getting into the bay from Sassoon. So 80, 12, all of those real pain points for all of us.
Yeah, you, so when it comes to transportation, I think it's an issue that we have across the board, all across Solano County. We're all struggling. We've been struggling for many years, just getting from the 80 interchange all the way from Fairfield just to Vacaville. And I'm constantly on the road. I'm like, why is this held up? Like, there's no accident, there's no nothing. That is a continued struggle that we all have on a day to day, just with just people commuting in and out. But then, how can we look at other options for transportation, right? We have our Amtrak station that is definitely underutilized. How can we get the utilization of our Amtrak and our BART, and or potentially we have we have an expansion of SPART coming out this way. So that is naturally a great opportunity to really hone in on the transportation needs using our Amtrak, right? We do have our marina and our waterfront, exploring those opportunities for potential ferry services, what that looks like. I think that all comes, but in order for that really to come to a forefront, like Mayor had really explained really, really well, regardless of if this development was to move forward, if there was an annexation, Highway 12 has always been an issue and it will still continue to be an issue regardless if this project is here or not. The reality is a lot of that infrastructure money that we may need now to address Highway 12, it's not going to come without the population and the need. And there has yet to be the need that has really put forward in the forefront for the infrastructure really come in place. So it's something that definitely is at the forefront of all of the conversations and our concerns as we're exploring. Like I said, we're in exploring. We don't know if any of this will pencil out. It may not. But until we have all of the information, all of the studies, all of everything that needs to come to the forefront, we really don't know what this may look like.
Okay. Are you working with Assemblymember Wilson and others for authority or resources to develop community and regional commercial space along Highway 12 within current city limits?
I am currently not, but I am definitely open to having and engaging in those conversations. I definitely believe that we are all stronger together with us as a county, as a community, and definitely want to leverage any of the resources and opportunities that are in the forefront and the horizon so that we can definitely explore and see if it's even feasible and how Suisun City can help be a part of that.
Awesome. Has the city looked at the land that can be reclaimed from the marsh via new levees?
I seen that question come in. Thank you, Mr. Crom. So that information or that to answer your question, I do not have the information in regards to that, not to my knowledge. I would definitely love to learn more. So that can be something that I can explore. Dwayne, if you'd like to provide me additional information, I would love to hear more about that.
So then just for a specific question, how much would the city need in revenue per year to be considered solvent? So like how much tax revenue are you looking to add? So that you can go from these annual deficits to actually uh, solvent.
Correct. So for us to actually get to the level of service level that we would actually need for our population, we would need to be operating at about a $45 million budget, but that still does not address about $100 million in infrastructure investments that would need to be made from roads, from dredging, from repairs, from facilities, from everything. And that is an ongoing thing. We currently, I went dark, sorry. Currently, we are not able to address the issues that we have with our roads, right? We have a very low score of our roads, and it's going to take millions and millions, millions of dollars to even be able to address it. And on anything, I think in the last couple of years, we've only been able to put probably two to 300, maximum $500,000 away per year to address our roads. So it's a continued concern for us, definitely. And without being able to increase our revenue, our services are going to continue to be non-manageable and continue to decline. And we're talking about our public safety, which are key departments that really keep our community healthy and safe.
So what's the current, so you said $45 million per year to be at that, but where are you guys at right now?
And you can quote me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're about 27 million.
Okay. So it's a significant amount.
It's a
Um,
significant amount.
because people throw around big numbers, and sometimes it's hard to understand that $3 million to a city is actually it's not that much. Like
No, it's not.
to us personally, it's a lot of money, but like $3 million is actually a fraction of the budget. So I just I wanted to give people a scale for everybody to understand like how much we're
I think,
off.
I think the reality is when we all came into this, I will tell you, we were just coming out of really COVID at the time. And one of the things that was frustrating me, I kept driving down my streets and the roads were all rocky, but there was trees growing from the middle of the street, not weeds. They were like trees almost. And I was like, this is unreal. This is crazy. Like, I don't understand. Why can't they just come fill the potholes? Why can't they cut the trees? Why can't they do this? Right. So a lot of that frustration really, really like, motivated me. I'm like, this is not this difficult. And then once I had the privilege to be able to come over into city council and really ask these hard questions and really look at, how the infrastructure and how we plan and how we can maintain our roads and what it takes, I was blown away to learn that just to do like a block of pavement on the road is $1 million. I mean, do you know how many roads we have within our city? Like, so if we're putting away a minimum 200, $300,000 that we can, scrape up to be able to put away for our roads, we will never be able to address our roads before the new ones are completely failing again.
Mhm.
So it is definitely a concern. And it's heartbreaking, honestly.
Yes, I do agree. I do want to go back to Highway 12, and the Transportation Commission that Mayor Hernandez was talking about. Um, it, so I think there are two separate issues. One is actually fixing the infrastructure that needs to be fixed regardless of what has ends up happening with any of this California Forever stuff. Like 12 needs to be addressed regardless of anything. Um,
Yes.
and you know, s- downtown Sassoon getting infill projects needs to happen regardless of anything regarding the annexation. So I just kind of want to separate out the two things that are just they are separate. Um, Okay, so we have if you need to have 18 million more a year in sustainable revenue and the infrastructure demands of a new community along the lines of California Forever will be in the billions, how is this a good financial deal?
I don't have the answers to that yet. That's why we are completely exploring. As, like I said, as the financial reports come in, as the EIR, as all of that comes in, and we actually get a clear picture of what this annexation could potentially look at, those are the hard questions and those are the hard decisions that we're going to have to make, right? Is this the right thing for Suisun City? Is this going to pencil out? It may not. And those hard questions are going to have to be asked. There has to be accountability. There has to be a clear indication that this in any way is going to bring Suisun City into a better position. And I don't know the answers to that because I don't have the reports. I don't have the research. And we're probably many years out from that information for us to even really have a full understanding of the impact and or the long-term cost that would be associated with it and or the financial, opportunities and in the positive or the negatives, right? I don't have that information to answer that question today.
It does seem to me that there is something questionable about this part that is would technically be part of Sassoon, but really would be away from and not necessarily a part of Sassoon, subsidizing Sassoon proper. Um, it, in some ways, like at face value, it just doesn't make sense. So it would have to be, quite frankly, way less housing, way more industry than what, from my understanding, has been proposed. So that is one thing that, you look at this and just like face value, it doesn't make sense. So that is the thing that I think is getting a lot of people concerned.
Yeah. And I completely understand that. And I see it from both sides and I see from both perspectives, right? And I think the work is when we are able to get the information and we're able to have the listening sessions, the community feedback, all of that, when we actually have the information in front of us and we're able to start going through the process to even see if this is something that Suisun City even wants to move forward with. For me, though, also I wanted to also have the other side of, well, can I not be that person that is not going to, who would stop even exploring the opportunity, right? Because if Susun's in this situation, as you know, we've always financially been, for many, many decades, we've always struggled financially to be able to have enough revenue to be able to keep up with our services and our infrastructure and really make the investments in the community as needed. As a leader of the community, somebody that was elected to be here to represent the community, can I equally sit here and say, oh, no, stop and don't, because this is the information I hear or feel, but I don't have any concrete information or anything to move forward in it? And take the opportunity away to not even have the opportunity to explore it for other people who may be interested, who may want to see this for the future, for their families, for their children, to have that opportunity. So for me, I really wanted the opportunity to be able to get the information, to explore it, to actually, have the feedback, the input, and then make those decisions. But we're not there yet. But I don't feel it was right to shut it down and not even have the conversations to actually see if it was even feasible. Because there's both two sides. There's people here that are against it, and then there's people here that are very supportive of it. And I understand both sides, and it's a frustrating place to be.
I just want to answer a question because Anna came in a little bit late, so she didn't get to hear Alma's answer for this one. But with the current budget and without any additional alternative and investment, is there any way to that Highway 12 could be expanded in the next 5 to 15 years? So there is currently a group, a working group with different agencies and cities to work on the Highway 12 problem. They are looking at all of the funding sources from the state to the feds to the cities to the county. So everybody is involved in that and fixing that situation. Could it happen from just Suisun City? No. So I will answer that one. And then have you looked at the county's estimates of costs for this annexation or for the California Forever project?
Yes. So when the initial report came out from the Board of Supervisors, I think all of us have looked at it and heard the feedback and heard everything. And I think even during this time, like the annexation of Suisun and what our needs were, I think, we're sitting here just figuring out if we're even able to, or if it was even feasible to even go to our voters to ask for a extension or a Measure S plus an additional percentage increase. So for us, like the conversation about California Forever, I'm not saying for us, I will speak for myself, of what even potentially opportunities were there for Suisun City wasn't even something in our minds at all. Um, like as Mayor said, going through this last fiscal year, we had to go into our reserves by 40%. Going into this next year, as we've been going through our whole budget process and trying to figure everything out, um, you know, we were depleted by nearly 40% of our budget reserves. And so we were in a very difficult situation. Even going to our tax base and our community and asking them and them having the confidence in helping us with this tax measure and bringing in the additional revenue that the city needed, which 98% of it goes to our police and fire. They came in at 73% with, wanting to support this tax initiative because they wanted Suisun City to be here and to be able to have these services that protect them and their families. And so it was really
You might have lost Jenalee. Uh-oh. The struggles of Zoom. It is a dramatic pause, Dawn. Thank you. Okay, let's see if she comes back, but if not, we will have to end this discussion there. Okay. I will oh,
I got booted.
you got booted. Okay,
You
I
booted
see
me.
you. I refuse to say that I
Okay.
booted you.
No, it's probably my internet because I hear my son playing video games and he's
And
stealing all of it.
the spotlight does definitely keep run your internet a little dry. So if we need to take spotlight off of you and turn video off, we can do that too. So if you want to finish your thought.
Okay. Um, yeah, so with that, yes, we definitely all were very alarmed with the information that had came out in exploring what California Forever was proposing. When it came to, us trying to figure out, okay, hey, well, we've got all these, we need to look at infill, we need to look at it, and us going kind of through the process and the studies and identifying the pieces and the opportunities for infill, we knew that it still was not enough. And so the exploration of annexation was the additional that we needed to be able to explore, to look for long-term sustainability. And with that, going into this, well, let's explore it because the proposal that California Forever initially proposed is not what Suisun City is looking for. This is Suisun City looking to annex into the land and potentially get some industrial tax base revenue. But it's not the same proposal that California Forever initially proposed. We are on the lead on this. This is about Suisun City. It is not about California Forever, right? We don't have any additional growth opportunity. We have the infill. I'm definitely going to reach out to Mr. Crum and talk about, our marsh and potential opportunities there. But the reality is the only land that is undeveloped and or potentially available for Suisun City to be able to really get the growth that we need to get the tax base is to the east.
Okay. And we will call it there. Thank you so much to both of you for coming out tonight.
Was it 30 minutes?
It was 29. I cut you off a couple minutes early, but yeah, we're already at 7:32. So,
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
did you want to close out with and say anything, Jenalee? Did you want
Mayor,
did
would
you
you
want to
like to?
close out
Oh,
or
for me.
yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely. I just really I appreciate this opportunity to see all of you and really kind of give you a clear understanding of really where my mindset is in regards to this. Like I said, none of us walked into this. None of us, this all came and it all ambushed all of Solano County the same way. We were all equally just as surprised and, and yeah, and we're here today. But I know in my whole heart, and I can speak for the whole council, we're all here. Four of us were born and raised here. We're raising our families here. We never left. We're fighting for our community. And, we're looking and exploring and trying to find sustainable ways that we can fight for this community and keep Suisun City, Suisun City.
Awesome. Alma, would you like to say anything before we leave?
Oh, yes. Well, once again, thank you so much for having us here today. I think this is a very important topic, and when we have more information to share, we'll definitely make that available and offer that and offer to come back again if you so wish us to continue participating in the future.
I
But I would say
absolutely do.
what I will say is that we also welcome all the critical thinking and thoughts and opinions and different perspectives into the conversation. That's the only way we'll be able to make a very comprehensive pathway forward. We need the critical thinking and the definitely the points of like, well, how are you going to address this? These are the questions we're bringing up over and over to our own staff that is shaping some of the studies that we're also asking for and asking for the investments into making sure that we have the right data, right information, and in having the opportunity to study the area of the future for Suisun City. But this is a community conversation. It's led by our city, it's led by our city council, and it's led by our staff. But it's definitely a community engaged conversation. We look forward to continue to have members participate in those conversations as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, thank you both so much for coming out. I am going to end the recording.